So we moved east, costume, turn of the century. And now we're gonna travel west, western North Carolina, and we're gonna go back to the late 19th century and on up again into the early 20th century. The song we're doing is a song that came out in 2017 called Pennies on the Tracks. By the way, Jenny put pennies on the track. How many of you have ever put a penny on a railroad track? Look at there. Look at that. Oh my gosh. So there's an urban folk legend, and you know, I went on Reddit recently and people still tell this, that if you put a penny on a track, you can derail a train. It's not true. It is true that putting a penny on a railroad track is a federal crime. It's against the law. Not because it's dangerous, although a penny flying off a track could theoretically hit somebody, but because it's illegal to put anything on a railroad track, because there are some things that could derail a train. So anyway, this song is called Pennies on the Tracks. Came out in 2017. I heard it. It just kind of popped up on my feed. And I liked it, and I kind of put it aside and said, it's a train song. But when we decided to do this, I went back to it and started learning about it. And there's so much I like about it. And I'm going to talk a little more than I probably should this early in the program. But, so one of the things I learned was that Aaron Burdett is from a little town in western North Carolina called Saluda. And this song is about a very famous railroad track and train that went through Saluda. So here's the story. 1877, there was a project started. They were going to extend the line of the Spartanburg and Asheville Railroad, which was a predecessor to the Southern Railway. They were going to go across the Blue Ridge from Tryon up to Asheville. Very popular for a long time, still is, very popular tourist area. And there were people living in the lowlands who wanted to be able to get there on a train. They ended up creating a very steep grade up Saluda Mountain. You know, why? It seems that the other choices they had, the soil wasn't stable enough. So they started on it. Project bogged down for lack of money and labor. The North Carolina legislature ratified a bill, gave them some financial support, and they allowed convicts to be sent to help build the grade. Now this happened in a lot of places back in that time where convicts got sent. And there's another grade in the Swannanoa, from Swannanoa up through White Mountain and into Asheville, where the same thing was going on. And there's a couple of projects, including Rhiannon Giddens' American Railroad project. They have a whole page where they talk about how when this happened, law enforcement in all of these towns, they started sweeping up poor people and black people, and just the slightest infraction they can make up, get them into prison, because there's your labor supply, and they were well compensated for that. At any rate, so in this project, there were sickness, accidents. It was very dangerous work. Both free men and convicts died. The death rate was high. And at that time, when they died, they would just often bury the men just off the tracks in the forest. At any rate, they did finish in July 4th, 1878. The line opened with the steepest operating mainline grade in the USA. You see the sign there. That sign still stands in Saluda. Turned out, I was excited about it at Saluda because Cathy and I visited Saluda in 2015 before this song came out, and it's interesting little town. The population in 2010 was like 700 people, and that's a picture of it. It's just like one side of the road is this row of shops. There's like a general store and a number of shops. And then there's the railroad tracks. And on the other side, there's not any really more of the city. It's just like, you know, woods. But when we were there, we really didn't know all this about Um, the thing about this grade, railroad grades generally 1% or less. A grade steeper than about 2.2% is considered, that's fairly rare. The saluted grade was 4.7, almost 5% grade. And it remained the steepest U.S. railway grade until it was taken out of service in 2001. Grades, how many of you have been down the Grapevine into the Central Valley, right? And so you know I looked that up, that's like, I think it's about a 6% grade. But you got cars going down it, you got trucks going down it, you do have the ramps going off for runaway trucks. But that gives you some idea of what it's like to drive down one of those grades. It can be it'll make you a little nervous sometimes. Well, with this railway, in the early days, they had a lot of problems. They had problems going up. They couldn't pull all the cars up at one time, so they would just take a few up, go back, get some more. But the real problem was coming downhill. They had runaway trains. In 1903, that year, they had 3 runaway trains. A lot of railway workers died. And I read some descriptions of one of those wrecks. It was pretty hair-raising. The last bad wreck they had was in 1940. Anyway, turned out, amazingly, in all those wrecks, no passengers were ever killed. Those, usually the runaways were like coal trains and stuff like that. So there was, I remember with the tourists, there was a train built, it was a luxury line, the Carolina Special. And that picture in the middle, if you could read that sign, that's the Carolina Special. And it would carry tourists up into the mountains. Cinders would blow through the open windows, and the tourists loved it. They had exciting vacation stories to tell. But you got to believe that the engineers and brakemen and the other workers on the railroad, they were nervous and scared all the time. At any rate, I am interested if anybody has any ideas after hearing this song, why it's called Pennies on the Tracks and why he sings about pennies on the tracks. I have theories, but I don't know. Now, the other thing I found out when I came back to this song and really dug into it was that Aaron Burdett is an extremely good bluegrass guitarist, and I am not. So I had hoped I would play it myself, but I have invited Aaron Burdett and his quartet to back us up on this.
Right, and this is a full bluegrass band, and it's kind of loud, so we won't be offended if you have to go farther back in the room. We only do this business twice, so.
This song, the narrative seems to be from the perspective of an engineer on this line. And when we get to the bridge of the song, they're coming down the mountain. And just think about, and you'll hear what goes through his head. Just imagine that trip and what it was like. August 20, 1905, mist burning off, the sun's rising high, and the steam from the engine mixes with the fog till one's just like the next, cut by the whistle call. Mind your job, boys, and take your work to heart. One wrong move and we'll all be torn apart. There's no room for error, short death for mistakes. If pride in your work won't guide you, let the fear of God today. Pennies on the tracks, boys, pennies on the tracks. Lay 'em down today, 'cause I might not be back if I lose control. Running down the grade, and the Carolina Special takes another life today. The Carolina Special takes another life today. In 90 days they took the line up the grade. 100 men, convicts convicts, a little more than slaves. All gave their days and many gave their lives to cut a flat above the river for this luxury line. They crushed the rock and they cut the earth away, and they crushed those men as the progress was made. Every white man lost sense was written down, not those kinds of men, but the kind we didn't count. Pennies on the tracks, boys, pennies on the tracks. Lay them down today, cause I might not be back if I lose control, running down the grade. And the Carolina Special takes another life today. The Carolina Special takes another life today. 200 tons of rolling down the line, cold steel cradle for 100 lives. Screaming down the mountain, chaos control. All the board praying that the brakeman keeps hold. We're flying by the graves of those who came before us, the men who shaped this ground and were buried in the forest. They call to me as we pass by. Some men live and some men die. Some men live and some men die. And the Carolina Special is the finest line of the finest steel and the finest design. And I think she's gonna get us through safe today. They keep those spirits cause at bay. I think we're gonna make it through safe today. I think we're gonna make it through today. Begged this morning, said, please don't go. Your family needs you more than they need you on that railroad. I said, settle down, don't you worry. And I lied and said nothing could happen to me. A man wants to be part of something greater than he is. Leave a mark to show that he lived. He might dance with danger, he might dance with death, and I might today before I'm home to rest. Pennies on the tracks, boys, pennies on the tracks. Lay them down today, cause I might not be back if I lose control, running down the grade. The Carolina Special takes another life today. The Carolina Special takes another life today. Another life today.